Wait till I get back and see him. Wait till I slap him. Alright, yeah. Yeah, wait. Wait till I come back in the market late night. And then it's just you and I you up. Children gonna be children. Kids will be kids. You know what I'm saying? I expect it. I expect it. I expect them. I expect them.
No one ever thought the day would come when T.I., the man who once stood tall as the king of the South, a rapper who survived the streets and turned pain into power, would be brought to his knees. Not by the music industry, not by rivals, not even by money or fame. This time, it was something much deeper. It was a father begging for his son's life. The story of T.I. and his son King Harris has become raw, emotional, and almost too real for fans to process. Piece by piece, the drama unfolded until it reached a point where survival mattered more than anything else. And at the center of it all was a father, stripped of pride, doing whatever he could to save his child. King Harris was born into a life most people can only dream about. From the very beginning, he had luxury, money, and opportunities at his fingertips. His father wasn't just another rapper, he was a cultural icon, a man who helped shape the sound of a generation. His mother wasn't just a celebrity either, she was part of a dynasty that influenced music and entertainment in ways people still talk about. On the surface, King's life looked perfect. But appearances don't tell the whole story. For years, anyone paying attention could see that King wasn't satisfied with being T.I. and Tiny's son. He didn't want to just live in their shadow, enjoying the privileges of wealth and fame. He wanted to prove that he was his own man, someone who could carve his own path without leaning on his parents' legacy. That hunger to be respected and feared pushed him toward decisions that raised eyebrows. At first, it was small things. Heated arguments on Instagram Live. Shouting matches with fans. Showing up in public acting reckless. People would laugh, call it entertainment, and brush it off as King being king. But underneath the jokes was a dangerous pattern. His behavior wasn't just rebellious, it was reckless. He wanted people to see him as tough, as someone who wasn't soft just because he came from money. The harder people doubted him, the harder he tried to prove himself. And proving himself meant diving into a world where respect is earned through pain, struggle, and often violence. King's fights became more public. His attitude grew sharper. His confrontations with authority became louder. Warning signs piled up one after another, but it seemed like no one could stop the momentum. T.I. and Tiny had lived through that life already. They knew the dangers better than anyone. They warned him over and over, the streets don't forgive, jail is no playground, and trying to impress the wrong people can end in tragedy. But King didn't listen. Maybe he thought his last name would shield him. Maybe he felt untouchable. Or maybe he was just too far gone in trying to prove his toughness to back down. Then the day came when all the warnings turned into reality. King Harris was locked up. At first, people thought it was just another headline, the kind that would blow over in a week. But what happened inside the jail was nothing anyone expected. Reports began surfacing that King got into a violent altercation with gang members. This wasn't just a loud argument, it turned physical, dangerous, and potentially life-threatening. Some said it started with a simple dispute that escalated. Others claimed King was targeted the moment he arrived because of who his father was. Whatever the truth, the fight made one thing clear: King was in serious danger. Word spread quickly through the jail. King had crossed the wrong people. In a place where survival depends on respect and alliances, he suddenly became a target. Gang members allegedly made it known they weren't going to let it slide. To them, the fact that he was T.I.'s son only made things worse. His name carried weight, but not the kind that protected him, it was the kind that drew attention from people looking to make an example out of him. When T.I. heard what was happening, it must have felt like the floor dropped beneath him. This wasn't about bad choices anymore. This was about whether his son would live to see tomorrow. For a man who built his image on strength and confidence, the thought of his son being hunted inside a jail was unbearable. That's when T.I. did the unthinkable. He humbled himself. The man who once walked the stage with a crown, the artist who bragged about never backing down, was suddenly reaching out to anyone who could help. Sources say he called in favors through every connection he had, friends on the inside, people from the streets, anyone who might reach the people holding his son's fate in their hands. And he didn't do it as T.I., the superstar. He did it as a father in fear. According to those close to the situation, when the message finally reached the right people, the world saw a completely different side of him. He begged. He pleaded. He asked for mercy. Picture that for a moment. The man who called himself the king, bowing his head and asking gang members not to take his child's life. The desperation was so deep that even those who once criticized him couldn't ignore it. Because at that moment, all the fame, awards, and money didn't mean anything. He wasn't larger than life anymore. He was just a father, praying that his son would make it through the night. But mercy doesn't come free in the world King had stepped into. The streets operate on codes and deals, not emotions. Whispers began circulating almost immediately that negotiations were underway. Rumors spread that T.I. was willing to put serious money on the table, offer favors, and even risk his own reputation if it meant protecting his son. For T.I., nothing else mattered. Not music, not pride, not image. Only one thing counted: saving King Harris. Some people believed that gangs saw King's arrest as a chance to gain power. Having T.I.'s son in their control gave them influence they had never experienced before. The painful truth was that this power wasn't only about King, it was also about T.I. himself. While all of this was happening inside jail walls, the Harris family was crumbling on the outside. Tiny, King's mother, couldn't hide her emotions. Her posts online became vague, but heavy with sadness, and fans quickly noticed the pain behind her words. King's siblings tried to stay strong for him, but how do you stay strong when your brother's life is at risk every single day? The same family that once smiled together on red carpets now looked broken, their unity shaken in front of the world. Social media lit up with reactions. Some people showed compassion, saying no parent deserves such pain. Others mocked King, claiming he had been reckless for years and now was finally facing the consequences. The hip-hop community was split, too. Some artists defended T.I., saying he was only acting like any loving father would. Others used the moment as a reminder that the streets have no sympathy, no matter your name. The weight of the situation grew heavier when people remembered the irony. T.I. had spent much of his career warning others about street life. He often told young people to avoid the mistakes he made. Yet here he was, watching his own son walk the same dangerous path. Life had come full circle, only in the most heartbreaking way possible. Now the future feels uncertain. Negotiations can only go so far, and promises don't always protect. In jail, grudges grow instead of fading. Every day King spends inside is another risk, another test of whether T.I.'s pleas were enough. For T.I., this isn't about music, fame, or legacy. This is about survival. It's about keeping his son alive long enough to change direction. To the outside world, it may look like a scandal. But for him, it's the fight of a father desperate to save his child.